People weaponize and demonize disconnecting from each other. And I understand why, because a lot of people are awakening and realizing that they have accepted a lot of things in their lives for years that they probably should not have. And so they disconnect from these people. And it's a very difficult space to be in when this is new to you and when you have been attached to people and those things for years, right? You're dealing with attachment wounds when you separate from people. When you first awaken, you're dealing with, so many different aspects of what happens with detachment. And one of the things that I'm seeing a lot of is a lot of negativity around detachment, a lot of negative communication around detachment. And I'm just witnessing this, and I used to be there, especially when I first awakened. And I'm in a space now where I don't want to have, negative emotions or negative thoughts about the people that I have detached from. Even the ones that I detached from when I was like angry at them and all those things, right? When I think about those connections and those people, those habits, whatever the case, I don't have a negative experience with those energies anymore. When I think of those people now, there is no negativity associated with how I think about it now. It's really an emotional intelligence where I understand why those people were in my life. I understand the parts I played in those connections, and it gives me a higher perspective on detachment and disconnecting from people. Like moving forward, if I have dynamics where I'm with an emotionally mature person and we decide that we are disconnecting, whether it's friendship, whether it's partnership, family, whatever the case, right? Habits, addictions, whatever you're attached to, right? And want to disconnect from. With people, if I'm with an emotionally mature person, we can sit and talk about this. We can celebrate and really, think about the memories that we share together, laugh, talk, cry, right? And really talk about why detachment is necessary. We don't do those things in relationships, friendships, in any relations, right? We don't do that. And I really wish we would. And where I am now, let's say because the thing about, let me just say this, nothing is permanent. Everything is going to fall away. Why be attached to people? There comes a time when they have to fall away, whether it's, through transitioning or just, energetically not on the same path and frequency with people anymore. It's okay to have those talks. I'm so open to those things, right? But I've learned that, people are on their own journeys. And a lot of times they're not ready to have those conversations. And it's okay. It's okay for us to be in that space. But in the future, I would love to see when connections, dissipate, I would love to see people celebrate it. Let's go have some dinner and talk this thing through. Let's memorialize our friendship, our connection, this addiction, Let's make this a ritual. Let's celebrate the connection we had. But people don't want to do that, because in order to do that, you have to hold yourself accountable before you get to a level of that type of maturity. And a lot of people are not honest with themselves with how they show up in friendships, relationships, and all that. And that's why it's such a negative experience to detach. People need to be more mature. It's okay to look in the mirror and say, I did this. I this is an area of my life that I need to revisit and work through. People don't do this anymore. I don't think people ever have. Maybe back in ancient times when separation happened, it was more mature. I don't know. But I would love, even when somebody, like, there's a process with detachment. It's not the same for everyone, right? If someone really harmed you to the point where, let's say, it makes you cry, it makes you so sad, people have a idea of, I'm detaching from this person and that's it, and that's okay. But when you have those connections where our frequencies aren't the same, we're not on the same path, when things are noticed of how both of those people showed up in those connections, and it may not resonate anymore, though it's okay to come to those realizations and celebrate it and talk about it and bring some positivity to it. Because when we do that, we enhance ourselves. It allows us to look in the mirror and say, how can I show up in my next friendship? What do I want in my next friendship? Because guess what? What I was before, what I desired before in friendship, relationships, whatever, family, community, whatever I desired before, after you end those connections, you may want something different. You who you are in this moment may want a different connection, want a different friendship. When I disconnect from people, I think about, what do I want moving forward? What do I value in friendship? What do I value in relationship? What do I value in community? What do I value with my work? I ask myself those things. And it's not a quick thing that I go through. It's something that I have to sit with and really nurture and hold space for myself with. So now I'm clear. I'm very clear on what I want moving forward. I'm very clear with how I showed up in all of those dynamics before I am very clear on what I want. But what if we got together with those people and really had these types of conversations before we disconnected, instead of it being a negative thing? Just, thinking about this, and I would love to see the future be completely different from what we have experienced thus far. I would love to see this connection be more mature, opposed to people not wanting to look in the mirror. That's all it is.